What would happen if the two people who once had the most intense confrontation in the world suddenly shook hands? No more trade wars, no more military threats, no more back and forth in the media, just a handshake that changes everything. Is it a sign of peace or the beginning of a new order where the rest of the world is left out? When America and China are no longer rivals, the world will no longer be the same. And if this crazy thing actually happens, are you ready to face it? If one morning you wake up and turn on the news and see shocking words, America and China, two long-standing rival powers, suddenly hold hands and sign a reconciliation agreement. Sounds unbelievable, right? With trade and political tensions still lurking, such an event would create a strong shock for the whole world. And immediately, everything will change. The world will have to ask, is this a new beginning for global cooperation or a stab in the back that leaves the partners and allies of these two countries behind? Close US allies such as Japan and South Korea will certainly feel abandoned. It feels like they are left out of the game, without a voice in important decisions that affect the whole world. But this is not the first time this has happened. Let's go back to 1972, when US President Richard Nixon unexpectedly visited China. This caused a global stir. The US, instead of confrontation, shook hands with Beijing, a step that no one expected. Japan was also not informed in advance, leading to confusion and distrust. They feel like they have been cheated and ignored in this big game. And now, if that happens again, who will lead this game? Donald Trump, with his characteristic deal-maker style, may be the next person to cause a breakthrough change. Remember his historic meetings with Kim Jong-un when he ignored traditional diplomatic norms to seek his own interests. Trump, there is a high possibility that he will find a surprise deal with China, not only to create economic benefits, but also to strengthen his political scores. Don't forget that technology tycoons like Elon Musk also have a huge reason to want the US and China to reconcile. They are being directly affected by strict trade policies, and a peace agreement will help them return to the game and grow stronger. Musk and the tech industry's wealthy don't just want to benefit themselves, but they also want to promote a world where economic and technological opportunities are expanded. So what will be the consequences of the US and China joining hands? Small and medium-sized countries may feel like they are being left behind. They will have to find a way to adapt to a new world where these two superpowers decide everything, from military strategy to huge investment capital flows. In general, a reconciliation agreement between the US and China will not only change the relationship between the two countries, but also entail great changes in the way the whole world operates. This cooperation could completely change the global landscape, a new game with completely different rules. Imagine waking up in a world where the long-standing rivalry between the US and China suddenly just ends. No more headlines filled with threats, trade wars, or showdowns at summits. At first glance, it might feel like a relief, like the world has finally exhaled after years of holding its breath. But dig a little deeper, and a different story begins to unfold. For many countries, especially smaller ones like Vietnam, Indonesia, or Malaysia, this new world isn't calm after the storm. It's a thick fog where no one's quite sure where the road is anymore. These nations, once able to balance delicately between the two giants, suddenly find themselves in an awkward silence. Without the familiar push and pull of great power competition, they face a new kind of pressure: irrelevance. If they don't adapt quickly, reshaping their foreign policy, finding new ways to stay connected and influential, they risk being left on the sidelines. No longer courted by either side, they'll have to shout louder just to be heard. And the uncertainty doesn't stop there. Look at Japan. Long a close ally of the US, it has relied on American support for decades to ensure security in a tense region. But if Washington starts stepping back, less out of hostility and more because it no longer sees the same urgency, Japan may be forced to rethink everything. Strengthening its military, crafting its own diplomatic path, and facing down a rising, unpredictable China will no longer be options, but necessities. The era of comfortable alignment could be over, and a far more complicated chapter might begin. South Korea too will feel the heat. Caught between two giants that no longer oppose each other, Seoul will face a high-wire act like never before. Without the shield of clear alliances, every decision will become more delicate. Externally, they'll have to carefully balance relationships with both powers. Internally, political divisions could deepen as the nation debates which direction to take. It's a squeeze from all sides, and staying neutral may be the hardest path of all. Zoom out even further, and the global stage begins to look unrecognizable. With Washington and Beijing shaking hands, they may no longer need to consult others before making decisions that affect the world. The European Union, India, Russia, countries that once held considerable sway may find themselves left out of key conversations. Meanwhile, international organizations like the UN, WTO, and IMF, long seen as places where global cooperation could flourish, might slowly fade into ceremonial roles. Global rules could become little more than suggestions, unless you're one of the few who helped write them. And perhaps the ones hit hardest of all will be the smallest voices in the room. Countries like Pakistan, Nigeria, or those scattered across the Pacific will face an uncomfortable truth. They're no longer players in the game. They'll be handed the results of backroom deals made without them. Agreements they didn't help shape, but will have to live with. With no real platform to speak up, their only option may be to adapt quietly or be swept aside. In this rewritten world order, it won't be bombs or battles that decide power. It'll be boardrooms, quiet conversations, and decisions made behind closed doors. And for many, the silence will speak louder than any war ever could. When the US and China find a way to reconcile, the world will witness a great change, a strong new wind blowing into the global economy. Try to imagine the trade war, which has caused chaos everywhere, disrupting supply chains, especially in the technology industry, and suddenly ending. Tariff barriers and embargoes are removed, a golden opportunity opens, and capital flows freely everywhere, creating a strong boost for global economic recovery. Businesses will race to find new opportunities, and the world will rush to return to its development trajectory. In that context, the US and China will reaffirm their important roles in the global value chain. The US, with its huge consumer market, will continue to lead the way, driving strong consumption and demand. China, with its strong manufacturing capabilities and unrivaled scale, will continue to be the world's factory. Together, these two superpowers will create new momentum that will not only help their economies recover, but also boost global growth. Imagine that once this cooperation takes place, everything will return to the rhythm of development, helping the global economy emerge stronger than ever. In particular, countries like Korea, Japan, or Southeast Asian countries will benefit directly from this recovery. Supply chains will no longer be disrupted by sanctions or technology controls, helping these countries maintain smoother trade connections than ever before. Businesses will no longer have to worry about sudden policy changes, but will be able to continue to develop and expand their markets, thereby receiving benefits from a strong economic recovery. However, not everyone will benefit from this revolution. The worry is that when the US and China restore global trade, the role of international organizations such as the WTO will gradually decline. Important decisions will no longer be made by multilateral bodies, but controlled by these two superpowers. Small countries, not participating in important negotiations, will easily be overlooked and lose their voice in decisions that have far-reaching effects on the global economy. Furthermore, with the strong revival of trade led by the US and China, they will likely readjust global trade rules. Intellectual property standards, environmental standards, even digital taxes could all be changed, and this would certainly disadvantage countries not participating in these negotiations. These changes will have far-reaching impacts, especially for small countries that do not have a strong voice in the negotiations. They will have to accept predetermined decisions without the opportunity to change, live a completely different world, where the US and China are no longer locked in a fierce tech war. No more headlines about sanctions, chip bans, or AI rivalries. Instead, something no one thought possible has happened. They've joined forces. These two former opponents, once determined to outpace and outsmart each other, now sit at the same table. Not to argue, but to build a future together. The global tech battlefield has suddenly turned into a construction site, and they're the architects. We used to watch their every move with suspense. One day, it was a new AI breakthrough from Silicon Valley. Next, it was China launching a new generation of 5G faster than anyone expected. But now, picture all that firepower and brainpower working side by side. The moment these two superpowers shake hands, it won't be a quiet change, it'll be a thunderclap. Together, they could launch a technological leap so big, the world might struggle to catch its breath. Artificial intelligence could evolve at a pace we've never seen. Semiconductor chips could become smaller, faster, and smarter in record time. And 5G? It wouldn't just be cutting edge. It would become the baseline, spreading rapidly across continents and into everyday life, from bustling cities to remote villages. But here's the twist. Not everyone will be able to ride this wave. Smaller countries, those without strong tech sectors, limited research budgets, or the connections to join the new inner circle, could find themselves watching from the sidelines. While the US and China chart the course of the future, these nations may struggle just to keep up. They won't have a say in the rules, the standards, or the next big thing. And slowly, they might realize that in a world rewritten by collaboration between giants, being left out means more than just falling behind. It means fading out of the conversation entirely. If one day the US and China really shake hands, it will be more than just a diplomatic handshake. That will be an earthquake that will shake the entire world. From political chessboards to economic trading floors, from cutting-edge technology to international summits, everything will be disrupted. The two superpowers will regain the central position, control the rules of the game, and enjoy all the great benefits from this cooperation. But while they rise to the top together, the rest of the world, especially small nations and global organizations, will find themselves pushed out of the spotlight. They no longer have a voice, nor the right to decide in a new order that is being rebuilt without them. The world may be more peaceful, but it can also become unbalanced in ways that few people expect. And then, the biggest question will no longer be who wins, but who can still participate in the game. What do you think the world would be like if that really happened?